All right, so we're going to do a 3-part series. Next 3 weeks, we're going to cover
3 weeks. Got it. 3 parts, 3 weeks. That's 1 part a week.
Nailed it.
Thank you.
Math is hard.
Math is hard.
Yeah. Okay.
Come on.
Seriously.
Time is ticking.
I know. Well, you just keep messing around.
Let's go.
So I want to talk about, you coach this all the time, but I want you to talk about how you can apply the trust triangle in sales. And the 3 components that we're going to discuss are empathy, authenticity, and logic.
Yeah, I love this. So what's ironic is those are the 3 parts of the trust triangle, and we're going to do a 3-part series that's going to take 3 weeks. So we could literally just do a part a week for 3 weeks.
3 equal parts.
Makes a
triangle.
Yes.
Of trust.
Triangle of trust. All right, let's go.
All right, so pick one. So which one do you want to talk about this week?
So listen, but first let's just talk about, because we've mentioned this trust triangle on a lot of these Friday videos. It is the core components of what runs Cannonball. It is the one of the most guiding things I use in my entire life, in every relationship I have in my life, and that is, the trust triangle is the 3 components of trust. Now, there's a lot of things that support those components, but these are the 3 ingredients of trust. There are no other ingredients. Everything else is to support these 3 ingredients. So you have to have all 3. You can't have 2 out of 3. You have to have 3 out of 3. And in sales, if you actually understood this, if you actually took time to really listen to this video, watch this video, apply this in your everyday, you would see your sales and success. Everything would get better. Everything would get better. So let's go over what they are, because I think this is so important. So the 3 components of trust are authenticity, empathy, and logic. Authenticity, empathy, and logic. And for sales, they're all equally important. But for sales, I think most salespeople lose trust, or never gain trust. I should say lose it. They never actually gain it because they lack authenticity. And I don't even think it's actually their fault, most salespeople's fault, because I think they've been programmed to believe that their authentic self is not good enough. And they get this from sales leaders. They get this from sales trainers. They get this from books. They get this from TikTok. They get this because everybody's trying to be somebody else. And when you're trying to be somebody else, that means you're not you. And if you're not you, you lose authenticity. And therefore, buyers don't feel that you're being authentic because you're not being authentic. They don't know why. They just sense that you're not being the real you. Therefore, you lack trust. You don't gain trust. And so what does this mean? So what is authenticity? Authenticity means that I'm being true to my core values and my beliefs. And that means I am who I say I am. I am who I say I am. Well, this is really hard to be authentic. What do you think the reason is, Morgan? This is so hard for people, just forget salespeople, for people to be authentic. What is the reason, do you think?
They worry too much about what the person thinks about them, or that they're going to be perceived as something.
Yeah, I'm not who I am. I'm who I think you want me to be. And so, but why is that? And it's because it's a deep-rooted problem that I'm not okay with me. If I'm not okay with me, then there's no way that you can be okay with me. So I better be a version that says you'll be okay with this version. So I just put on a mask and I be who you want me. I'm who you want me to be, but yet then I come off as inauthentic. And when I started my career 10 years ago, when I started my company, I thought I had to be this different type of trainer, this different type of coach. I thought I had to present the image. I had to wear a suit and a tie and cufflinks and speak in certain ways. But it was so inauthentic. That wasn't who I was. And I became less afraid of losing a client than I was in losing myself and trying to get a client. And so authenticity is a hard one. And that means that you just have to show up who you are. Now, that doesn't mean you can't change your behaviors. It doesn't mean that you can't change your tone of your voice and how you deal with customers. It doesn't mean you can't have a process. But the delivery and the engine behind everything you do has to be rooted in what you believe. And if you're trying to be something that you don't believe in, it'll come off as inauthentic. And so what happens is buyers sense whether you're being authentic or not. They don't know. And we have this thing called thin slicing. There's a great book by Malcolm Gladwell called Blink, talks about thin slicing, where in the first couple minutes of meeting somebody, we make a determination of who we think you are, based on how you talk, based on how you dress, based on how you look. It happens in a nanosecond, behind the scenes in your subconscious. Then once you decide who I think you are, now all I see are the behaviors that support that. So the idea is you have to be okay being you and understanding that some people are going to get you wrong. Some people are going to misunderstand you. Some people aren't going to like you. You have to have the courage to be disliked if you want to be great in sales. If you want people to like you and you want to get sales, you have to have the courage to be disliked. I understand there's a lot of people. We coach thousands of people on a weekly basis. I understand there's probably 20%, and I'm probably being generous to myself, 20% of the people that can't stand me because they don't get me. They don't feel I'm authentic, or they don't buy into what I believe. And while, nobody wants that, you have to be okay with that. If you want success, then you have to understand that not everybody's going to get you. And when you finally are liberated to understand that, you will come across as authentic. You will hit the first one of the trust triangles, which is authenticity.